All right, in this video, we are going to be going over what has been going on economically, what's happened, what's happening, and what active steps to take as a person, household, or family to weather this storm and not only survive it, but thrive, economically at least. For your mental well-being, I have other advice. Subscribe to this channel to be notified when we have great video drops of the best food in certain areas, the best downtowns, the events coming up, and also for now, pick up a copy of Robin Sharma's newer book, The Everyday Hero Manifesto, only because I love it. I just finished it and I am a raving fan of both Robin Sharma and this particular book. My name is Mike Perna, local real estate agent, and we help over 1,000 families each year with their home purchase or the sale of their current home. In addition to that, I coach other real estate agents nationwide. We would be honored to interview for the job of helping your family as well. All right, so here's where we're at mid-2022. Across the United States, gas prices is now above $5 per gallon nationwide for the first time ever, per the Wall Street Journal. The war in Ukraine has caused European nations to look elsewhere other than Russia for its oil supply. Previously, 40% of Europe's energy came from Russia, and they're now looking towards the Middle East as well as the United States. That, coupled with the first real travel summer here in Michigan in the States since COVID-19 started, demand for gas and energy in general is at an all-time high, while supply has been choked to a very, very low. Impact year over year, cost of all energy, gas in the tank, running a furnace, even electricity, is up an average of 34.9%. Housing. In many cities, housing is up 60 to 200%. Over the last 10 years here in Michigan and Metro Detroit, the average home value is up 107% from 2014 to now. It's had a meteoric rise, especially in 2021 and so far in 2022, up even from the sky-high housing price jumps of 2014 to 2019. An example of this is we sold a home to a family that relocated here for work in Rochester Hills for $490,000 in January of 21. Relocating again in March of 2022 away from Michigan, we resold the same home for the family with no improvements for $560,000. That's a $70,000 price increase in 14 months. That's obnoxious. Let's call it what it is. It's obnoxious. As reported by the New York Times, the average American made more on their home value increase in 2021 than they did at their job. Groceries across the board are up 11.9% year over year, with the largest increases in the protein categories: eggs, bacon, beef, milk, and also fresh vegetables. As no wonder, as Americans, we keep resorting more and more to eating cheap processed foods versus fresh foods packed with nutrients, because those are just getting more expensive and unaffordable. Rents, may as well raise those too. Per Fortune just hit an average of $2,000 per month across the United States. And here in Metro Detroit, $1,400 to $1,800 per month is just where we live now. And if that's not enough, wage growth has been at 5.2 to 5.5%, not nearly keeping up with any of the other inflation costs. And interest rates on everything from housing to cars to credit cards are also up. 6 months ago, you can get a home loan for an unfathomably low price of 2.75%. Now it is 6% all day long, and it's going to be 7%. If you're looking for a home, lock in now while you can, because it's going up before it goes down. All of this contributes to the I word: inflation. Inflation is now up 8.6% year over year, while wage growth is up a paltry 5.6% per the last jobs report. And with that kind of inflation, the Fed really only has one bullet in its chamber to fire at it, and that's increasing the interest rate again. I mean, again, from the 0.75, it just increased. 7% is now not only not out of the question, but it's going to happen before the end of 2022. And if that's not bad enough, let's look at the markets. The NASDAQ, the Dow, the New York Stock Exchange, the Russell, all of them down 14 to 20% year to date, depending on which index you're looking at. And that's not just here in America. I mean, look at the Nikkei in Japan. It too is down. We have now officially entered a bear market on the heels of the inflation report showing 8%, causing the market to go down 4% in a single day, and then the 0.75% interest rate raise, causing the market to go down another 4% in a single day. The tech-laden and now better stocks like Peloton and Netflix are down 27% or more year to date. Even Target has changed their earning projection downward, and this is the place that you just can't get out of for under $100, right? I mean, you go there for one item and you leave with 20. And even these guys are pushing their projections downward. That's a lot. So what's next? There are really only two things that can happen. We're either going to enter a recession or we're not. Now, if we enter a recession, let's take a brief look at specifically 3 time periods when we did enter a recession or a depression. First, the Great Depression. That lasted roughly 10 years from 1929 to 1939. It was initiated because Germany defaulted on their war reparations it agreed to pay European countries, and in turn, European countries paying America from World War I in 1929. This set off a cascade effect across Europe and then America. This, coupled with buying stocks on what today would be called extreme margin, wiped people out. Millionaires and average Americans both. And what I mean by extreme margin is at that time, you can buy 90% on margin. And what that means is if I bought $100 worth of stock, I would only have to put in $10 of my own money and be loaned the other 90. If the market went down, if that stock went down just a simple 10%, my own money would be wiped out. No big deal. I mean, yes, it's a big deal I'd lose my money, but the bank wouldn't lose theirs. If any stock went down 20%, I not only lost my money, but I now owed that same amount that I lost back to the bank. Price drops of 60 to 80% in 1929 were common and wiped people out, Americans, the wealthy, and banks alike. Forget about it. Now, during that time, President Roosevelt did try unsuccessfully to use what was later called his alphabet soup to ignite the economy. Most of it was struck down as unconstitutional by his Supreme Court. Things today we take for granted, like the Forestry Service, Social Security Administration, and the initial forms of Medicare and Medicaid. He was looking to spend his way out, and it was working. The government actually just did that recently with COVID-19. More on that later. A second crash inside the crash occurred during the Great Depression called Roosevelt's Depression, and that was the result of it. Second, let's look at a recession a bit closer to now. Due to a massive mortgage mishandling in the 90s and early aughts, the meltdown of 07, 08, 09 happened. At that time, the government expanded social services and gave an unprecedented amount to the banks to bail them out. $700 billion to be exact. Now that depression we went into and came out of in 4 short years. Unemployment reached 14%, 26% for millennials at its worst 2 years in. By the end of year 4, our economy was back on track and posting massive gains. Losses in the stock market recovered and everything started growing again, unemployment going back under 6%, and housing started to appreciate again. So let's look at the third depression, the COVID shutdown. And the government sprang into action in the matter of weeks, and I mean 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, they had passed a $1.9 trillion spending bill going out to millions of Americans, small businesses if they can prove that they were keeping people employed instead of laying them off, and in loans to larger businesses as reserves. It was the first of 3, and each one was almost triple what it took the government 18 to 24 months to even talk about during the 2008 depression. The Dow recovered from a 30% drop in a matter of months. So here we are on the edge of the precipice again economically. What do we do? Well, here's what I know. If we do go into a recession, each and every time subsequently, and you can track this from the Great Depression all the way through COVID, these cycles have gone shorter and shorter and shorter, recovering faster and faster and faster. In fact, from the worst to the peak, with the exception of that one Great Depression, every Dow has recovered from its lowest point to 100% in under 2 years. Doesn't matter what the cause of the recession is, and if you look at each one, they all have different causes. So even if we do go in, this is a short-term pain and we will come out. It will feel hard and will feel long while we're in it, because that's what happens when we're going up against tough things. They always feel tougher than they are, and they always feel longer than they are. Like leg day. The second option for our economy, which I'm hopeful for, but I'm also not going to hold my breath for, is that Jerome Powell can thread the needle with the interest rate, pulling it up enough to reduce inflation and then ratcheting it back down fast enough to stop a recession. Will he do it? Who knows? We'll see. So here's what you do. And it ain't sexy and it ain't fun, but like Batman was not the hero Gotham wanted, it was the hero Gotham needed. This is not the advice you want, but it's the advice you need. First, don't wait for or expect a government handout or bailout. None of that victim mindset on this channel. You won't see it anywhere. My watchers, like yourself, who subscribe to see more videos on the state of things like this, are a pull up by the bootstraps kind of folk. Let the government worry about the macroeconomy. We'll look after our own here. Number 1, tighten the belt 10%. Somewhere in your daily, weekly, and monthly spending, mine as well, there is what's called discretionary spending that really doesn't get you anything. Mine was fancy coffee, and I'm going to call that Starbucks, even though mine was coffee shops like Proving Grounds in Royal Oak or Red Dot in Northville. I changed it from a daily habit to a once-a-week indulgence. Honestly, because when I looked at it, it really wasn't adding anything to my life except a momentary emotional relief. And I mean, a few minutes. And a lot of calories, and I really didn't need those calories. I really do want to save that $130 a month though. Second, lifetime fitness. Now, fitness and health is the core of every successful person, and I define success not necessarily by dollars, but the enjoyment of time and being healthy. Because being healthy allows you to experience more life by living longer and having a better quality of time with the people you love. You can play basketball longer with your kids, or you can golf, or whatever your thing is. Lifetime raised its rates again, so now I'm paying $105 per month, which I believe to be, frankly, obnoxious. I switched to LA Fitness at $35 a month, $70 a month saved. Keep doing this. Keep analyzing and holding every expense accountable until you've driven down that bottom line as far as possible. And I'm going to say this, include your Amazon spending. Lord knows I'm the worst at it. I do the click and buy or the buy now thing all the time. So here's what I did. I deleted the app and forced myself to use a computer for Amazon instead of using my phone. And just by waiting, I often forgot what I was going to get. And I noticed on my credit card that my Amazon spending was cut 55% just in the first week. It was amazing. Now, once done, take all of those dollars, because we don't get to keep those, take all those dollars and put them into a 401k increase if you are not maxing out your 401k, a Roth IRA if you qualify for it and you're not maxing out your Roth IRA, or just in the market in general. Now, don't get paralyzed by the choices. Here's how the most popular 12 ETFs, mutual funds, and REITs performed over the last 10 years. Pick one and go with it. Pick two and go with it. Pick three and go with it. Just for the sake of goodness sake, just go with it. And make sure to pick one with a very low fee. The fee gets you nothing. In fact, high fee ETFs and mutuals causes portfolios to perform worse than low fee ETFs and mutuals over a long period of time. Now, there's some good apps out there like Acorn, but I'm frugal, and Acorn charges monthly dollars that I could very easily just keep myself and invest. So how I do it is I pick a number and I make the frequency of deposit really super small. Now, this is how I successfully invest frequently and a lot. Next up, have an emergency fund. Having an emergency fund, a savings fund, or even something like a retirement fund in and of itself does serve a second purpose. With its absence, we feel the strain on two parts of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And yes, I'm going all the way back to high school psychology on this one, guys. Maslow says as humans, we have 5 needs: physiological needs, safety needs, belonging needs, esteem needs, like self-esteem, how we feel about ourselves, and self-actualization needs, which is trying to become the best version of us that we can. Not having a safety net of an emergency fund directly puts stress on the first two, physiological and safety. When stress rises, health goes out the window, like your physical health, but also the health of your relationships, such as your marriage. Money is still the #1 cause of divorce, people. Make a plan with your partner, tighten the belt, get yourself both on the same page and committed, and save that difference and work as a team. And also celebrate those wins when you get them. When you hit certain milestones, treat yourself. Go out for one nice dinner, get that coffee, go do a staycation somewhere. But treat yourself only when you win as a team. It will help strengthen your relationship, and it will de-stress by having that backup account. All right, so when the market's going up, it's really easy to invest because the market's going up, and it feels good because you put in $100 today and tomorrow's worth 105, and the next day 110, and the next day 115. When the market is going down, you also invest. You save early and you save often. As shown by the research done by Morgan Housel in The Psychology of Money, which is a great read, by the way, highly recommend that. He shows on any given day, the market as a whole will go up 56% and down 44%. However, over any 10-year period, the market has a 100% chance of going up. Pick up a copy of The Psychology of Money. It's a great read, super interesting, entertaining, and you know what? I've got like 5 copies of it. People keep gifting it to me, which is great. Subscribe, comment below, and shoot me an email letting me know you did there. And the first 5 people to do that, I will mail you a copy of the books. I literally have a half a dozen of them at home with no great reason other than I forgot once that I owned it, so I ordered more and have received it a few times as gifts. Next up, beef up that resume. Give it a go-over. You may not need it, but opportunity only comes to those who are prepared for it. Diving deeper into the research and the jobs report, I know that there are 3 things about the state of the economy. First, there's a genuine shortage of good people and talent across all industries. Talented, hardworking folk have work in every economy and command raises and get better paying jobs now and in a tight hiring environment. Now, third, there's some additional data that backs that up. I met with a high-level accountant that works with companies over the entire United States and Canada, and the top 100 companies that he represents all revenue above $250 million per year. Now, each of those companies gave their employees anywhere between an 18 and a 26% year-over-year raise, some even more than that, but all of them way more than the inflation rate. Now, the jobs report shows a small percentage of people that got a raise, and I'm talking 5.3% wage growth. But when you break that out, we're also considering a lot of people that are in multi-year contracts like police officers, firefighters, and teachers. Finally, looking at the jobs report, people that took the opportunity to switch jobs, even doing the same job at a different company, averaged a 32% pay increase from one job to the next. Next up, if you have a house, keep your house, because you probably can't get that interest rate anymore. And if you're looking to make a move up, it's going to be super expensive because not only are you buying a more expensive asset, but the borrowing, the interest rate is doubled, guys, in the last 120 days. I don't know how else to say it. It's gone from 3 to 6 and it's going to 7. Probably not worth it. If you don't have a house, buy a house fast. Mortgages and rents are roughly equal right now, with the average apartment complex in Metro Detroit charging $1,450 per month now, and the average first-time buyer, mortgage and taxes included, are $1,600 a month. All right, so the house is about $150 more per month. But a little more on that, I want to break that down. With the mortgage, you'll also get back around $2,000 to $2,500 in your yearly taxes, and you'll be paying down a loan towards something that you own, and lastly, it'll go up in value. It will actually go up in value. The average American lives in their home 11 years now, and I don't know what's going to happen over the next 2 or 3 years, but I do know what's going to happen over the next 11. Whatever mess or whatever crisis we're in this moment, we're going to be well out of, and we're going to be way on the other side of upside. It just is what it is. It's every 10 years. And even if prices do go down over any 10-year period, they will go down so momentarily that they'll be back up again, and you'll have profited by the time you yourself want to go and sell the home to move up to the next property. Last reason to get out of that rental situation: if you are not living with mom and dad, if you are paying a rent to somebody, get a house. Simply put, rents go up 5% per year on average. Fixed rate mortgages go up 0% per year on average. Literally. So the renter paying $1,450 per month today will be paying $2,361 in 10 years and still own nothing. The person that gets a mortgage today will still be paying that same amount, if not lower, because when the rates come back down, and they will come back down, those people will also refi. Or they'll have equity towards their next home purchase, which means they can buy their next home at a lower rate with more equity down, making their payment probably the same. Now, last and definitely not least, is Bobby McFerrin saying, "Don't worry, be happy." And it was just a little song he wrote. You might want to sing it note by note. Okay, I'm not a singer by any stretch of the imagination. That's as close as it gets, guys. And I'm also not trying to minimize the stress caused by the outside world. But as the prayer goes, God grant me the strength to accept what I cannot change, the courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I can't change the market, I can't change inflation, I can't change housing prices up or down. What I can do is monitor and hold accountable my spending down to the dollar. And as I learned with my last trip to see my niece, she doesn't require expensive things to be happy. She really just wants time, attention, and love. If you've got kids and you bought something expensive and then they play with that for 5 minutes and then they find an old rubber ball in the yard from God knows where and they end up playing with that for hours, you know exactly what I mean. Some of the best vacations that I took when I was a kid were ones that like seedy looking motels at the Bear Dunes, and the expensive and the hoopla ones at Disney. Honestly, those were just stressful in and of themselves because of the timetables and the cost of it and all the other things that were happening. Because all that bad stuff like gas prices, inflation, the market, it's going to fix itself. And it's frankly going to fix itself faster than you think. And I know that because it always does. My friends, my name is Mike Perna, local real estate agent here in Metro Detroit. If you're considering buying or considering selling, we would be honored to receive that call. And I truly hope that this video gave you some sort of a solitude and frankly, let yourself off the hook for some of the stress that you can't control. And again, subscribe to get notified when our next videos drop, and make it a great day.